It's not the sexy headline you were looking for, but this was the most important recruiting win that the Miami Hurricanes scored over the weekend.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday, if there is such a thing. I am Alex Donno, University of Miami alumnus, co-host of Locked On ACC, and writer for Canes County at Rivals. And thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. On this Monday episode of Locked On Canes, we'll talk about the House settlement and how it's going to impact Miami recruiting, NIL, football, basketball operations, all that good stuff. How many five-star prospects is Miami going to sign in this class of 2026 recruiting cycle? But folks, let's talk about more of the impact coming out of this past weekend of official visits. And no, as of the time I am speaking to you here on Monday, Miami has not gotten a verbal commitment yet from any of the players who visited weekend 1, May 31st, or weekend 2 on June 6th. But folks, this was a headline from yesterday afternoon that I hope, as a Miami fan, if you follow recruiting, and even if you don't, I hope you're not taking this for granted, right? Because you've had multiple guys who have been verbally committed since this past spring or even earlier than that, officially locking in with Miami and shutting down their recruitment. And guys, that is just as important as landing new players. The new commitments will come. I'm not trying to, pivot the narrative to, hey, we're not going to get anybody, but at least we're keeping the guys we have. The new commitments will come. But when we found out coming out of Sunday that four-star linebacker Jordan Campbell out of Miami Northwestern, someone who's been long committed to Miami, but has kept his recruitment open, has taken multiple other visits. Heck, he was just at Florida State this past weekend. Jordan Campbell is officially shutting it down, and he's focusing on Miami. He said this to 24/7 and Rivals after his visit. As of right now, I ain't taking no other official visits. I had Auburn, Mizzou, Nebraska. That's all canceled now, he said. Coach Cristobal was really like, you don't need to go anywhere else. Yesterday, we just did a commitment circle. They put everyone in a circle that's committed. Remember, there were 6 of those that were visiting over the weekend. When I just looked around, I said, this is a team right here that we can actually run with. We can really be greater than what people think we are. And remember, included in that commitment circle, you had Darion Coleman, Miami's stud quarterback commit for the class of 2026, 4-star rocket arm out of Orlando Jones High School, who's really become an ambassador for this class. And, oh, yeah, you also had the top player in the class of 2026, Jackson Cantwell, 5-star offensive tackle in that commitment circle. So Jordan Campbell, and guys, again, he's taken a lot of visits. He had a lot more scheduled. This is one that if you're an everydayer of Locked On Canes, you've probably noticed I've been worried at times about Miami possibly losing Campbell from this class. Him locking in, reaffirming his commitment to Miami, and shutting down the rest of his recruitment, it is significant. And in fact, Campbell's not the only one who's done that. Jalen Waters, Mr. Seatbelt, committed defensive back. I know that certainly when Miami landed his verbal commitment a few months ago, you had trash talk coming from other fan bases, rival fan bases, because, yeah, up to this point, Jalen Waters has been, had been a little wishy-washy. He was briefly committed to Florida State. He was committed to Florida, primarily for Will Harris, who left Florida to join Miami staff. Flips from Florida to Miami. So he's been at times committed to all 3 of the big 3 in the state. So yeah, Florida State fans and Florida fans were like, Miami, you think you got him? Just wait till he flips somewhere else. So yeah, Jalen Waters, by the way, fantastic player. He's going to be a great piece at cornerback for Miami for years to come. He has shut down his recruitment. He's focusing on Miami. Jackson Cantwell, and I know it's only been a few weeks since he's been committed, but this is the top player in the entire nation. He has shut down his recruitment to focus on Miami. Jordan Campbell doing the same thing is huge because, again, Campbell, not only a fantastic player, I know he's listed as a linebacker, but he's got versatility. This guy can be an elite edge rusher as well. And Campbell said this to Rivals about the role he's going to play at Miami. He said, they see me as an outside linebacker rushing position, sometimes buzzing to the flats, buzzing to help the curls if I'm covering, but mainly dominating that O-line rushing, just getting to the quarterback or just looping around to the A-gap or looping me around to the other side of the field. I'm not a guy that's just standing right there. I'm always everywhere, he said. You have to read me. It's home. I was born and raised in Miami, Carroll City, Florida, Miami Gardens, Liberty City, Opelika, Coconut Grove, Homestead, all that. I'm through and through Miami. It's not anything that I already don't love, he said. And Jordan Campbell last season at Northwestern had 70 total tackles. 49 of those were solo, 28 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, and 4 passes defended. And he has locked in his commitment to the University of Miami. And again, I expect others, not only from this past weekend, but the weekend prior, are going to end up committing to Miami. You guys know I said it yesterday. I'll double down my Donno ball on this one. I feel really good about 4-star interior offensive lineman Cannon Pickett. I think that one, within the next few days or the next, week or so, he could end up becoming a Miami Hurricane. I think his commitment date is going to be coming up really soon. And, another one of our top visitors from 2 weeks ago, maybe the top remaining Miami target at this point, Derek Cooper, 5-star running back / safety linebacker, a guy who wants to play 2 ways in college, one of the top players in the class. He teased recently on his social media that his commitment date could be coming soon. Now, Miami's got a lot of competition there for Cooper, including Georgia, probably his other top school outside of Miami. But we've been feeling good about the way Miami is trending for Derek Cooper. So if his commitment date is really coming soon, keep your fingers crossed. You might be getting some good news there. So, yeah, Miami is going to land some of these new verbal commits. But again, folks, what do we see time and time again in recent recruiting cycles? Big time flips into Miami's class or out of Miami's class around National Signing Day. The fact that some of Miami's most important verbal commits are shutting down their recruitments is absolutely massive. But we'll talk a little bit more about 5-star prospects when we come back, and we'll talk about that house settlement, because this is going to completely change the way college football does NIL, recruiting, and transfer portal. How is that going to affect Miami? You want to keep it locked right here. We're only getting started on this brand new Locked On Canes. Folks, the NBA Finals, Stanley Cup Finals, all of it is in full swing right now, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action than right now on FanDuel. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Folks, if you're new to FanDuel, it is the perfect time to sign up. You want your Florida Panthers to win you some money here in the Stanley Cup Finals, or the Pacers in the NBA Finals. You want to head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If that bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch. For your next listen, make sure you check out Locked On ACC. I missed a little time on Locked On ACC because of my travels. I'm here in Italy. I'm kind of set up a home base here. So we're going to be doing some more episodes, me and Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack. We take you all around the conference. Locked On ACC is available free wherever you get your podcasts and available free on YouTube. Going to take some questions here from the Locked On Canes Insiders chat. If you want to become a Locked On Canes Insider, click the link in the show description below. Get text messages directly from me to you. Try it free for 14 days. And then if you like it, you can opt in for $4.99 a month on the Locked On Canes Insiders chat. Donno, if you could only pick one as a must-have wide receiver, do you pick Tristan Keys or Calvin Russell? That's from Dat Dude 239. right, so if I only have, and they're both 5 stars, by the way, if I only pick one, Tristan Keys or Calvin Russell, I'm greedy and I want them both. I do think, for what it's worth, Tristan Keys is probably the more elite of the two, at least the more elite potential. So, like, if you're talking about from a pure football POV, you would say Tristan Keys, who's currently committed to LSU, by the way, but he's visited Miami 3 times since January, including an official visit at the end of May. I think Tristan Keys, and this is like splitting hairs because these are two of the best receivers in the class. Keys is probably the slightly better player, but then at the same time, I feel like maybe and in a weird way, I think maybe Miami might be trending even better with Keys than they are with Russell. I kind of flip-flop on that day in and day out, but I also think that Calvin Russell would be more painful to miss because he's local, Miami Northwestern. We know how important that pipeline is. Talking about a local South Florida player, a really important high school. And, oh, yeah, he's also a Miami legacy. His mother, Chenevia Broussard, one of the best women's basketball players of all time. She's in the Sports Hall of Fame. And here's the other thing about Calvin Russell. If you land Russell, he's not only going to help your football team as an elite wide receiver, but he's also going to play basketball at Miami. So 1 scholarship, 2 sports can impact both teams. He can help Jay Lucas. He can help Mario Cristobal. So I don't know. That's value, right? You're getting more bang for your buck with Calvin Russell, and he's a legacy, and he's local. They're both fantastic receivers. So in a really roundabout way to answer your question, I think Calvin Russell might be the answer, but Tristan Keys is a phenomenal player. But again, I'm greedy. Miami's recruiting both of them. They're both takes, right? So if Miami gets the green light from Russell and Keys, they will happily take them both. So, I'll hedge a little bit, but I would say it would be more painful to miss out on Calvin Russell, especially if he goes to Syracuse, right? If one of the top local players, one of the top players in Florida, leaves South Florida to go to a miserable spot. I've never been there, but I'm assuming it looks very cold there. He leaves South Florida for a miserable spot like Syracuse, New York. That would be kind of depressing, I think. We get another one from Dat Dude 239 who says, "Hey, Donno, can you help spread the word about the Bell Burger? That's Markel Bell's burger. It's for a good cause. All the money made from the burgers goes to charity, and it's a good burger," he says. "Shout out to Pop Subs Restaurant. I drove all the way down from Fort Myers to try it," that dude said after the meet and greet at the team store. Yeah, so it is really, so Miami's starting left tackle, Markel Bell. This is cool because when I first heard that the burger was coming, I was thinking it was like an NIL thing, which is fine, but it's actually even a lot more noble than that because, like that dude said, all of the proceeds from Markel Bell burger go to the Boys and Girls Club. So this isn't even an NIL thing. This is a charity thing, which is awesome. I haven't had a chance to try the burger yet. I've been out of the country. They're not selling the Bell Burger in Marina di Massa in Tuscany. Unfortunately, it's only available at Pop Subs in Miami. But I do plan to try it when I come back. And I would say, if you try the Bell Burger, bring your appetite, because I looked at a picture of this thing, and then I read the ingredients. The Bell Burger includes 3 patties, crispy bacon, caramelized onions, and a special Markel Bell sauce. I'm assuming the sauce is delicious, and I love me some onions. I love me some bacon. I love me some burger. The 3 patties sounds good. So yeah, guys, at Pop Subs, this all goes to charity. All of the proceeds go to the Boys and Girls Club. So I want to support Markel Bell, and as soon as I am back in the country, I will be trying the Bell Burger. Oh man. All right, we get this question from John in Tampa. This is a good one. He says, "Hey, as of now, how many current 5-star players do you think Miami will end up with in this class?" He says, "Of course, I say current because, as you know, a certain website might downgrade them after they sign with Miami." Oh, he's taking a little pot shot there at one of those recruiting services. All right, so how many 5-star class of 2026 prospects is Miami going to sign? And if you feel like I leave any possibilities out, feel free to let me know in the comments below on YouTube, or you can send me an X post at Alex Donno. Obviously, Jackson Cantwell. Miami's got top player in the class, offensive tackle, verbally committed. And as I mentioned, Cantwell has shut down his recruitment. He's completely focused on Miami. So that's one you already have in the bag. I expect, as I mentioned, I think Miami's trending in a good spot with Derek Cooper, the 5-star running back. So I'm going to tentatively say Miami is going to land the standout John Adman star. So with Derek Cooper, that would be 2. I do, if I can be so bold, I talked about those receivers. I think Miami's got a good shot to land probably one of Calvin Russell or Tristan Keys. To be realistic, I'm not going to say we land them both. I'm going to say we land one or the other, okay? So right there, that would be 3. I think 3 is very realistic that Miami could land 3 out of those 4. And then, just to throw out some other possibilities, right? So I think 3 5-star players is realistic, okay? Then I hope Miami can land maybe one of their 5-star targets on defense. Some of the guys who seem interested, who have visited recently, defensive tackle Lamar Brown out of Baton Rouge. Now, obviously, LSU will be very tough to beat there, but I think Miami made a very good impression on Lamar Brown last week. Same thing with safety Chauncey Kennan. Miami's in it for him. He's a 5-star player. Or, Miami just had defensive lineman Bryce Perry Wright visiting. Miami also seems pretty high on his list, but it's kind of an uphill battle there. So if Miami can land one of those as well, I think, as I mentioned, you're probably going to land maybe 3 offensive 5-star players. And if you can land one of those defensive guys, I think 3 is a realistic number, and perhaps Miami gets a 4th 5-star player. And if Miami does get 4, you're talking about a top 3 or even a top 2 class. So we got to keep grinding, my friends. We have to keep grinding. This question has been coming in a lot over the last couple days. Who's taking over Miami's strength and conditioning program? Shame on me for not. We did a Sunday episode. I really should have brought this up because I wanted to thank this man for all of his excellent work here. I think it was on Saturday we got the announcement that Miami's head strength and conditioning coach, Aaron Feld, is stepping down. And he cited noble family reasons. And I think anyone who's familiar with Miami football knows if you're on that coaching staff, you're always on the clock, right? You're talking 80, 90-hour work weeks, right? It never stops. The grind never stops there. And so, Aaron Feld released a heartfelt statement. Not only did he thank, his players and all the fans, he seems genuinely grateful to all of the positive words he's received from Hurricanes Nation. But he talked about, needing to spend more time with family, that he owes it to his wife and his children to be more present for them. So he decided to step down from Miami and look for the next chapter. And, we all know Coach Feld, of course, from the amazing handlebar mustache. He's like a caricature out of the 1860s or something, but a great personality, a leader of men. The players absolutely loved him. And, the strength, that's a really important job, the strength coach, because, during like the time of year that we're in right now, right, when Miami's on-field coaches are not allowed, during this period of time to work hands-on with the players, the strength coach is the one guy that has access to the team, and the strength and conditioning staff does. So this is a really important role. I want to wish Coach Feld all the best because, again, did an excellent job. Great to cover. Seems like a great human being. And, I hope he gets the family time that he needs. I think anyone who has a family can relate to that, right? So God bless Aaron Feld. As far as who's next, like a couple days before he stepped down, Miami did announce the hiring of at least 2 assistant strength coaches. I don't know if either of them is going to be elevated to the top position, but Miami definitely knew that Feld was going to leave. So they started reshaping the staff accordingly because, again, you need to have a staff there to be working with players during the offseason. So Miami recently hired Houston Owens and Nick Tulloch late last week as assistant strength coaches. And, again, I don't know necessarily if either of them is going to step into the permanent role or if they're going to hire somebody to be their boss, but we will find out. I don't I don't have like a hot board of names for the next top strength and conditioning coach. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. But again, I cannot emphasize enough how important of a job that is, because the strength and conditioning coach, they're able to spend a lot of time with the players when, the on-field coaches, coordinators, and assistants cannot. So we'll see if this role gets filled in a timely manner. What about the House settlement? Is this going to wreck all of the amazing NIL work that Miami is doing? The college football world wants you to think so. Are they correct? You want to keep it locked right here. We're not done yet on Locked On Canes. Thank you for making us your first listen and your first watch today. So Friday, the House versus NCAA settlement was officially approved by the Honorable Judge Claudia Wilkin. And the parts of the House settlement that everybody's talking about, because over the past 5 years or so, when you're talking about recruiting, when you're talking about transfer portal, NIL, how much are schools spending building their rosters? Did Ohio State, did they win a championship with a $25 million roster last year? Texas A&M, Miami, are they spending $40 million on? No, they're not. But you've seen those accusations come out. So, yeah, part of this House versus NCAA settlement is players will be paid directly by the school. Schools are going to have a cap of up to $20.5 million to spread among all student athletes. So not just football or just football and basketball. However, we expect probably 90% of those $20.5 million budgets are going to go to football and basketball, because those are the revenue sports, right? Now, third-party NIL deals will still be allowed, but they're going to be very scrutinized. So any NIL deal over $600, right? Like if the local car dealership or restaurant wants to pay players to do commercials, any deal over $600 is not necessarily going to be blocked, but it's going to be scrutinized. It's going to have to go through a clearinghouse where they are going to determine if the payment is legitimate, fair market value, and they're going to decide, hey, if they want to give a player $6,000 or $60,000, is this legitimate, or do we need to block this? Okay. So basically the NCAA wants to try to eliminate, kind of pay for play, right? It's just like, hey, you have to be providing legitimate NIL advertising promotional services, and this isn't just boosters kind of funneling you money under the table, which seems noble. Now, on the one hand, it's going to be kind of difficult for them to enforce a lot of this. I think a lot of lawsuits are going to come. But again, Miami has always, or over the past few years, has been looked at as like a big NIL spender, a big NIL player. So if there's more scrutiny on these third-party deals, is that going to hurt Miami? I've thought about this a lot over the last couple of days, and I really don't think this is going to hurt Miami. In fact, I think this could be an advantage for Miami over a lot of the smaller markets, because you got to think about this, guys. Again, if the NCAA and this clearinghouse, if they're going to be scrutinizing illegitimate NIL deals, something you have in South Florida that you don't have in a lot of college towns is a bunch of legitimate big city advertising opportunities. So we'll see how much the South Florida community, because all the legitimate businesses, Fortune 500 companies you have in South Florida that you don't have in college towns, if they actually step up and provide NIL opportunities to top student athletes, we call them that at the University of Miami, in a big city, places like Miami, Los Angeles, they're going to have advantages. Dallas, they're going to have advantages that a lot of these small market, small town teams do not, because there are more opportunities for legitimate NIL deals down here. So I think that can play in Miami's favor. Now, the other part of it is you've got these revenue sharing obligations that come directly from the school. With Miami being a private institution that has a lot of wealthy donors behind it, Miami's going to be fine there. Like when it comes to raising the, $8.5 million. And that number, I think, is going to go up a little bit every year, the revenue sharing number. When it comes to raising that money, I think Miami is in a good position there. There's enough private money backing Miami. So again, people will look at this and say, Miami's doomed. They're going to scrutinize NIL. There's a lot more legitimate NIL coming out of South Florida, or at least the opportunity to have legitimate NIL in South Florida compared to a lot of the small towns. Get Fortune 500 companies, tons of businesses, whether it be local, regional, national, multinational corporations. There are NIL opportunities to be had in Miami. Now, the part of the house settlement that I don't think gets talked about enough, which is something that's going to benefit former Miami athletes and former athletes from all over the country, is the back pay. You think about all of the former athletes who busted their butts without NIL, because that didn't become a thing till 5 years ago. And they're going to be actually paid. Even our pal Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack, he's going to receive some money from the house settlement, right? Players that played in the era before name, image, and likeness are now going to be receiving money from this settlement. And that's fantastic, because back in those days, they didn't have opportunities to cut deals, to do advertising, right? They didn't have the opportunities that players now have. So the part of the settlement that I really appreciate is the back pay, and that players who busted their butts and put in all that work, got injured with, theoretically no cash to show for it. I think that's really cool. I appreciate everyone making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. Make sure you smash that like button, become a Locked On Canes insider, subscribe. It's free to subscribe. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. We'll talk to you guys again next time on another episode of Locked On Canes. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.